All right, what a beautiful Wednesday morning. Good morning. The weather has changed today, by the way. It's not that hot. At a time like this, every day is always very hot and sunny. But today, the weather has changed slightly in the city. That signals some good signs of good things to come. Good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Olo. Please talk to us on our social media handles at Victor Olo, at KBC Channel 1. And being a Wednesday is the viewpoint. And basically what we do is I'll be taking you through some of the stories that are making the headline the entire week and what we need to focus on as we move into the week ahead. All right. My guests, Nairobi, iko na mambo yake, right? Sossion is already here in studio. Sossion is a former NAT Secretary General and former nominated Member of Parliament. As a teacher, he's always very punctual. You said you're a physics teacher, chemistry.
I am a chemistry teacher.
Chemistry.
And agriculture teacher. And a drama teacher at the same time.
Oh, yes.
Drama
season.
One.
It's drama season, yes.
Oh, yes.
That is great.
And I was not just a teacher. I was an exemplary teacher.
Yes.
For that matter.
That is the reason why.
And once a teacher, always a teacher.
Explains why you're always punctual. There are some teachers who are never late for class. 15 minutes to the end of another lesson, you're always outside there. You're one of them.
I was always 2-3 minutes to my lesson, always. I started my lessons on the dot and summarized my lessons 5 minutes to the end. I never ate into anybody's time, and I would not allow anybody to eat into my time.
That is perfect. Time management.
I never disturb students by creating extra time of teaching during prep and weekend and other times. No, I finished my teaching during my lessons strictly.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Do you miss classroom?
Well, I do miss, but it reaches a stage that at time that you exit the stage. You can't be on stage forever. So I had to exit the stage.
Yes.
To serve the teachers of Kenya at the age of 32. And I served sufficiently. And I also had to exit the stage of serving the teachers of Kenya. And I've joined the forest of politics.
It's a beautiful forest with some indigenous trees.
Yes, it's
so many fruits,
very motivating.
Low-lying fruits in the forest.
Very extensive. Very extensive.
I can imagine you love it there.
With diverse topography.
Yes.
Flora and fauna. Yes.
In plenty.
And it never ends. You know, nature does not end.
No. It continues to flourish every day.
It continues, and you can study nature forever. And you can discuss nature forever.
Yes.
And that is the political ecosystem. Political ecosystem is complex and wide. Particularly ours, where we've developed, our democracy is actually so enhanced, one of the best in the world. One of the best. And being one of the best, then it's a very, very vibrant one. Wengine wanasema inasonga haraka kama syllabus.
Yes.
Yes. Things move so fast. Yeah.
I'm trying to bring that analogy just to bring us back home into what is happening in the country. As a teacher, you know, time management is part and parcel of the system and the training and the job. And now you move from classroom, you serve your country in a different capacity. And then now you got into that large and lush forest of politics. How do you describe these three things when you bring it back home in our current affairs right now? IBC says that they need more money, all right? We have got the president saying that there is a lot of unity talks right now between him and Honorable Raila Odinga. A lot is happening. How do you describe, based on the example that what we started,
and
the journey until now where we are today?
That's why I said the syllabus is moving so fast. The syllabus of politics, the syllabus of activities. IBC, I can see the headline here.
Yes.
Shilling 61 billion. IBC polls shocker. That is by
The Standard. You can
By
read
nation.
that exactly.
By
Give us the headline. Today I'm giving you that job.
Yes.
What's the headline of the Standard?
Shilling 61 billion IBC poll shocker. The budget is shillings 19 billion more than the amount splashed in 2022 general election by the IEBC, and comes at a time when the country's healthcare system is in a mess. The capitation of public schools has not been dispersed, and the university funding model is in disarray. This is how the nation has framed it.
Just read it properly. Just read.
Syllabus inakimbia.
Yes.
At IEBC inakimbia. Because of course, IEBC commissioners are being constituted, and by 25th of April, according to the selection panel, the names will be available for the president to formally appoint, forward them to parliament, and have them approved, gazetted, and appointed, and they get to office. And the first business they will do is to audit the 2022 elections, to conduct voter registration, to conduct by-elections, and largely to prepare for 2027 elections. So we are not very far from another elections.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at that paper. That is also forming part of our discussion today. 61 billion shillings for the next general election, that is in 2027. And when you look at, again, that amount is almost 19 billion shillings more than the budget that IEBC used in 2022. Now, what do you make of that headline on the front page of the Standard? Well,
this is what IEBC has proposed. And IEBC budget is not imposed. It goes through Parliament. They must defend their proposals. They must outline their programs, what they intend to do.
Yes.
Because I believe a budget is derived from program in investment areas. And they will tell us exactly what they're doing, because I've heard they're replacing all the KIMS kits. The KIMS kits that were used in 2022 will have to be discarded and new ones procured and overhauled. You know, Kriegler gave very good guidelines to IEBC, and we must laud IEBC.
Yes.
It has come of age, and it should do very well and better in 2027. And you say the syllabus is rushing. The unity talks across, unity talks in the air, and you've seen Baba posted this, and I said here last week, we were here, that there are now two very serious statesmen in Kenya, and anybody intending to play a role in politics, because now we are in this political forest, all of us together, this ecosystem. The tallest trees in this forest are two, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga. And so people should watch what they're doing, because you know, you can't transform a country without stabilizing political ecosystem.
Yeah.
You can't transform a country without entrenching equity and equality. And that's the principle of the broad-based government. And we've seen engagements for the last couple of days. And I am sure, without a doubt, it will lead to more agreements. That is going to lead to greater unity in the country. So that then, because when you look at the development agenda of Kenya Kwanza, which is now formal in government, and what Azimio or ODM, in fact there was no Azimio, there was ODM, what ODM was proposing, the pillars are similar, and therefore there is need to accelerate uninterrupted delivery of all the pillars of government. And this is what the president said. I need many hands through broad-based government to help me deliver my agenda, the president's agenda. Because when you are elected, your agenda is elected, is approved, and it is the one to be implemented. So we want to see more programs in agriculture to make agriculture more productive. We want to see more activities in the MSME to make the MSME work. And remember, the MSME is a microeconomic space, and that will lead to greater and more prosperous macroeconomic success of the country. We want to see more expanded ICT infrastructure and utility, because we are in the fourth industrial revolution. In the fourth industrial revolution, everything is digitally driven. We want to see the housing model falling in place and succeeding, and young Kenyans accessing affordable housing. And for me, because I've grown from the workers' background, young workers accessing houses without struggling to get loans to build their own houses, because that is what governments must provide. And we want to see the universal health coverage, which has been talked about here, that it is not working. It must work.
Yeah.
If it is about money, we should see more money getting in, and Kenyans getting treated, the critical illnesses being treated, that is cancer and the rest. So I believe there's a lot to transform the country, make our education work, make it equitable, of high quality and accessible to all households. These are deliverables that the government must deliver.
All right.
And I believe it is knocking the hearts
I'll get to
of President William Ruto and Raila to ensure that it is
I'll get
delivered.
to that very shortly. Thank you. Samuel Shikuku, political analyst, has also joined us on set. Samuel, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you.
Karibu changamuka bro, changamuka.
Yes.
Changamuka. So we are just getting through the front page of the local dailies, and Sossion has given us that front page of the Daily Nation. Again, perhaps for the sake of Samuel, the front page, what does it say? 61 billion shillings,
IBC poll shocker.
Yes. Perhaps, according to the report, that is the highest poll, the proposed amount for the next general election. What do you make of that headline, Samuel?
To me, I can say it's good to fund IBC, because IBC, it has been challenged every time. Every election, IBC, we have the challenges facing Kenyans. They don't trust IBC, and they may say they lack funding. If truly they can fund them that amount of money, I think they can do a better job in next election.
Yes. Okay. So this amount is perhaps going to be the highest, 19 billion shillings. Let me take a look at what's on the front page of the Standard as well. Pain of Haiti, that is what I have here on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Pain of Haiti. Apparently, Kenya lost one of the soldiers there in the peacekeeping mission in Haiti. And he said that at 25, Naomi Samuel never thought that she would be a widow after what they first thought was a career break for her husband turned into a nightmare when he succumbed to injuries during the controversial Haiti mission. The story continues there. Samuel Kaitwai's widow, the gentleman who was also deployed to the peacekeeping mission in Haiti. Gachagua, Raila will be president if he joins us. That's also on the front page of the Standard newspaper. In a candid interview, former deputy president claims that he has numbers that will make opposition leader win the elections with a stunning majority. But that will only happen if Raila joins the other side. How true is that? All right. On the front page of the Star newspaper, secret treaty, Raila and Ruto sign 2027 deal. MOU, however, remains closely guarded, because now that is something still in the pipeline. Secret treaty, Raila and Ruto signed 2027 deal. That is also the front page of the Star newspaper. And still, down below is the troubled north. The troubled north. Right now, things are not so okay in the northern part of Kenya. But Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Murkomen Kipchumba, visited the area and gave several orders, and also promising that some sanity will be restored in the border county So that is what we have. And now Turkanas take up arms to repel Ethiopian militia. It's not something that the country should be experiencing at this point, but the government says that they are hands-on and boots on the ground. MPs reject UDA ODM bid to deal with the party rebels. That is also on the front page of the Star newspaper. Douglas Bilo, Speaker of the County Assembly of Makueni, also joining me on set. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
After years, where have you been?
I've been down there. You know, the city was devolved to 47 mini-cities, so I've been at the city of water in Makueni. And therefore, most of times we're there. We don't have to be at Nairobi. And we can follow you online.
Nairobi to Makueni is not that far.
It's 2 hours drive.
Always visitors around.
But 2 hours, you can do a lot down there.
I see what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
How is Makueni doing?
We're doing very well.
All right.
Challenges of devolution. We are picking up. Devolution is doing well.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know Sossion there?
Yeah, do. Who doesn't know him?
Who doesn't? That's a good one. Who doesn't? Yeah. And Samuel Shukuku is also a political analyst by your side. So, gentlemen, we are good to go. So, let me start by asking you the same question. Front page of the Daily Nation. That's on the front page of the Daily Nation. IBC is seeking 61 billion shillings for the next general election. They submitted their proposal in what is touted to be the most expensive. In 2022, the budget they had was the most expensive then. But right now, 61 billion shillings proposed is going to be another, if it's passed. But of course, we understand that there's a lot of dynamics that have gone through. What do you make of that headline? Very quickly, on the front page of the Daily Nation.
To me, it's not expensive if the funds are properly utilized to facilitate the process of democracy for Kenyans to elect leaders from MCA to presidents and have a parliament that can pass policies that are pro-people. But it becomes expensive for Kenyans because they know that you want 61 billion and have a hoggish election.
Yeah.
You can see what's happening in this country. All of us are not settled. There's opposition. There's movement of political parties from left to right. The economy is doing bad. There were demonstrations immediately after elections. So the cost of inconveniences that Kenyans are not satisfied after elections is more expensive a billion times than what is being requested. If IBC indeed...
What did you say? The cost is more expensive?
The cost of unfair elections and improperly organized elections is more expensive a billion times than the 61 billion. Because we're struggling as a country arising from a contested elections, in which case you cannot really establish who won, who didn't win. There are polling stations that projected different votes. And this is not just the previous election, but all other previous elections. We have had problem with the IBC in the manner in which they have conducted this business. So I'm saying, if they are requesting for 61 billion to conduct an election similar to that which was conducted in America, fair, we will stabilize our country. But the problem why Kenyans are asking, and they think that, and you think, is a lot of money because you know they are going to give you the same results or worse. Democracy is constrained. 5 years, and the will of the people is compromised.
Okay. What do you make of the same statements, Sossion?
Let me welcome my brother.
Thank you.
Yes, it's good to engage the Speaker of Makueni County.
Yes.
61 billion as proposed has been broken down into various vote heads. And that indeed will be subject to parliamentary process, whether it's going to land at exactly 61 billion or less or more. That depends on the parliamentary process, and that is our constitution. And casting aspersion on the efficacy of IBC at this stage, I think will be defeatist. The Supreme Court has proved time and again that IBC has done a fantastic job, particularly in 2022.
Yes.
If you lost elections, you lost elections. And you accept, concede, and move on. The world will not die. But if you create stories and navigate and try to argue, make up a case, that's what I call fishing expedition. You are creating hope where there is no hope. politics, elections is about numbers. You either have votes or you don't. And I think other people have moved on. We are looking at uniting the country and moving on and ensuring that there is justice and fairness and there is development and equity and nobody is excluded in the country. So we are past 2022 and a verdict was given by the Supreme Court and that verdict remains unchallenged and that's a fact. And let's not live in 2022. Let us now live in 2027. And let's look at 2027. Looking at the curricular report and how elections were bungled in the past and why it must give Kenyan people confidence, then I am sure the resources that goes into preparation of 2027 is to deliver seamless transmission of true votes that are verifiable in every polling station for MCAs, for members of parliament, for county women reps, for governors, senators, and the president. Those are the 6 votes that are conducted on that particular day, the first week of August 2027. It is known, the date is known.
Yes.
So I think as a country, we've come so far in strengthening our electoral system. And I want to believe that the new chair and commissioners and the secretariat of IEBC, because I've seen the structure, they're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
They're working on the investment program areas that have been put in place. Others about civic education, strengthening ICT and so much. So there are a lot of programs that goes into preparing everybody for the general election. And I'm looking forward to a day when elections, presidential elections in Kenya can really be delivered within the day of voting, before people sleep
that can only be
at midnight,
if
we have results.
If that can only be delivered, Mheshimiwa Sossion, that can only be delivered when there is enough time. Remember, we are way behind schedule. Delimitation of boundaries actually is also part and parcel of that.
Yes,
budget.
Delimitation is part of
Which is
one of the
schedule.
major agenda, but I am not sure whether time will be enough to conduct delimitation of boundaries before 2027. It might be overtaken by events, but even if that one is not done, the rest must be done. Auditing of IBC 2022 elections, and particularly registration of new voters and ensuring that that voter works, that voters register works in 2027, and that elections will be credible, verifiable from the polling stations. Elections in Kenya begin and ends at the polling station. And once they are counted at the polling stations and verified, approved by agents, and confirmed to be true results that are not tampered with, then they are transmitted to the IEBC portal. And they are later confirmed with forms 34B and 34A and 34B. All those forms. 34A is the form of the polling station. 34B is the total tallying in the constituency. And that was done at Bomas. I was at Bomas myself as one of the agents of President William Ruto. And we received forms 34As from all the 46,000 polling stations, signed, verified, before they were tallied. And all forms 34B, that is from all the constituencies, 349, signed and tallied. The rest are politics. But what IBC did is credible. And you saw the international diplomats saying, these are the best elections ever done. Because I think Kenya is a democracy, we must walk the talk. If you lose elections, go home. If you win, fine. Because leadership is not a human right. It is a privilege given by the people.
Absolutely. But Samuel, when you look at this budget and the timeline that we have currently, do you think we are being realistic? Because we don't have commissioners yet, you know?
Yes.
And a lot must be done. Voter registration must happen. New voter registration must take place, which is a continuous process. As per the law, we have delimitation of the boundaries. We have got, you know, a lot to do with the acquisition of new KIMS kits, and some of them are supposed to be you know, revamping of the, I mean, it's just too much work.
Yes.
Looking at the timeline, we are just not so far away from elections.
Yes. We don't have time, to be honest. I think we are behind, but we are happy if we get a new chair on IBC.
Yes.
We'll try to catch up with time. Although the big question is, we have been with an issue with IBC, to be honest, several years. As Mr. Sossion has said, yes, when you lose the election, you should accept it. But the question is, if I should accept if I lose fairly. And the big issue is that many Kenyans, they don't have trust with the IBC. It is obviously, many people, they don't trust IBC. Now, the question is, if you get a new chairperson, is it going to win the trust of the people? I really believe that this time we are going to have a good result, that everybody can be satisfied on it. Those are big challenges. We don't know, but we are hoping in future, if President has already proposed some names, if a parliament can elect new chair, it should come in and work very fastly and try to bring Kenyans together.
Yeah. Okay. Again, when you look at this, Speaker, the number of elected positions we have in the country is just so, it's big. Number of ballot papers during an election. And when you look at this, you would imagine we also have the Gen Z effect, remember? Could it be the reason why this amount is getting to 61 billion proposed?
Of course,
yes or no?
I do not think so, but the shorter the time, the more expensive it's going to be to prepare, because you need to do a lot of things in a very short time. That's point number one.
Okay.
You require double human resource that you might require. You'd have required, let's say, 100 people to do a certain job in 5 months, but this time around you require 100 people, or maybe 300 people to do the same job in a very short time. And just to correct what I've said, it is not a question of winning and losing. It's a question of resources that have been allocated to IEBC and facilitate an election where the winner and the loser are satisfied in that fair game. And that is a problem that we have had as a country. And therefore, discussing the 61 billion is not a problem. But how the 61 billion is going to be arrived at so that we do not have an election that is contested in this country, and ensuring that including...
Allow me to cut short.
Thank you.
Take a break. I want to serve you tea as well.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
That's better. Shikuku must be happy.
The sugar cane farm. Now that Kenya does not import.
Tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
nĩ ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
nĩ harĩa tũkoragwo tũkĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hoda
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Soro FM.
Hali ambayo kwamba ni hali ambayo kwamba inabidi ufanye istighfari sana na kumwomba sana Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala na kukithirisha sana kuisoma Qur'ani, kwa sababu salafi salih bimaana masahaba na wanazuoni waliokuwa wema na hali ya Mtume sallam walikuwa wakimwomba Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, masalafu wema waliotangulia miezi 6.
Na unapojiandaa katika kuingia katika mwezi wa Ramadhan, basi kama Waislamu tunapaswa kuhakikisha kuwa tumefanya mazoezi ya kufunga katika mwezi huu wa Shaaban.
So let's do this, continue the discussion. So now, gentlemen, the question that is still lingering around, which I asked you, Bwana Speaker, perhaps I'll give you 1 more minute to finish your statement. I asked a question to do with the Gen Z, which according to the poll body goes for around up to 4-point-something million new voters. That's a big number.
It's a big number, but it's not considered. How do you register young people who do not have identification cards?
Registration process has to continue, though.
It has to continue, but you see, the process of registering voters starts with the identification of the voters in terms of registering as citizens and issuing them ID. It is very expensive for ordinary Kenyan to obtain an identification card. They are not interested. There are better things to do, because why should I pay 900 shillings or 300 shillings to be registered, to be called by my father's name, to be called a Kenyan, to be identified? And you know, government strategically did this because they were not interested in registration of new voters.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And therefore, transforming the registered Kenyans' IDs to voters is not going to change as much. And that's the problem we're going to have. So I don't think that voted in terms of registration is going to be significant, because they are disenfranchised. They have no place in the voting block. Yes.
Okay.
Replacing an ID card from where I come from in Makueni, it's costing 900 shillings. One has to pay to replace an ID card. It was free before. Where do you want to collect money, revenue for registration and replacement of an ID card? And that is what will qualify a citizen then to participate in the democratic right processes of electing their leaders to govern them for the next 5 or 10 or 15 years. And therefore that beats the purpose of the registration, because you can't register people who are not Kenyans, and they are not registered as Kenyans other than birth certificate. Yes.
How different will this be then? Because based on your argument, then it would mean a majority of Kenyans will not have that chance to register as new voters.
Which is a strategy. Which is a strategy. Because the young generation and the young people in this country have been rebellious to the existing regime. And therefore, the only way a clever administration would do is to ensure that you favorably allow the ordinary voters who are 30 and above years to continue to be in the register. But the new ones who find it difficult and low interest, and they will not qualify to be voters at that point, it's difficult. I myself, I obtained my card, ID card, for free when I graduated from Form 4. For free. I lost it not once, not twice, not 3 times. And I replaced it with ease. Now, I have to pay for it. People are jobless. Young people are jobless. Tell me, do they consider buying a loaf of bread, surviving, or applying for replacement of an ID? And therefore, strategically, you will not transform them to voters. Chances are then you retain the ordinary voters and mama bogas and other people who can easily be influenced, because young people seem to be dependent. They don't care whether you're Raila, whether you're Klonzo, whether you're Ruto, whether you're ABCD. But they must be managed. The system is very clever. And that's how government at times works. It's unfortunate.
Is it strategic, Sossion?
No, it's not strategic. I think what Mheshimiwa should know is that with the new constitution, basically all government services, you pay a modest fee. It is there. It's a practice. And so even if it were 1,000 shillings for the process of registration, just to get an ID that will enable you to do many things, I don't think that would be too much. And for me, the levy imposed on registration of new IDs was not intentional to obstruct young Kenyans or any Kenyan who deserves an ID from voting. It was not geared towards elections. Because if you check, you are the Speaker of the county, you'll see that all services, you make some payments. And that is post-2010 constitution. The only thing we may need to advocate is whether the national government can avail a proper budget so that Kenyans can be registered without paying. That would be, we bring another argument. But you cannot argue against a provision that's already running and we make political capital out of it. No, I don't think anybody intended that, because this event is going to affect all youth across the country. And I think the president, even the other day, said, yes, let us have the options of acquiring ID be equal to all Kenyans. Though some people are complaining, We are opening our borders to foreigners. And we are getting to an era where there are no borders in Africa. There will be free movement. And so making life complicated for Kenyans is not that. I agree that we can then rethink about the fee with respect to youth acquiring IDs so that they can participate in jobs, so that they can participate in trainings, and they can participate even in voting. But in terms of registration of voters in 2027, because a budget has gone into it, one of them is even registration of voters. There has to be very intensive civic education and media campaigns by IEBC. And any Kenyan above 18 intending to vote in 2027, even those who will turn 18 in 2026, those who will turn 18 in 2027, are free to apply for identification documents. And ID registrations officers are available in all counties. And I expect now county governments and leadership, local leadership, to mobilize the youth to get in, to register. If they have challenges in payments, find ways of assisting so that they can register. It now becomes a domestic business and strategy. Let not registration of acquisition of ID be a real excuse and an item that we waste a lot of time.
What would be the motivation?
Motivation for?
For the new voters, because we have a disenfranchised lot of, potential.
No, sovereign power of the people. Sovereign power, everybody must be proud to exercise.
Yeah.
Everybody must be proud to vote. Proud to vote. Whether you are sick in hospital and indisposed, whether you cannot walk, we must encourage people to vote. That is how to advance our democracy. If we register, for example, because last year we had 22 million registered voters, and those who voted, I think, was around 13 million, then you're telling us 9 million did not bother to vote. Sometimes we get voter apathy. People don't turn up to vote.
Yeah.
You look at in some areas, voter turnout was at 65%, 70%. In some areas, it is in as high as 90, 95. I think what we need to do going into 2027 is to, and IBC should do, leaders should do, everybody should do, is a collective effort to sensitize people to vote. Even those of us who have been vying for seats, parliament elective seats, the most important thing is to urge voters to vote. It doesn't matter whom they are voting for. The most important thing is to vote. How do you help those with disabilities? How do you help those in hospitals? How can we make sure that the patients who are in hospitals are also able to vote? The security personnel and the electoral staff, how can they vote?
All right.
Because we must give everybody a right. If we are talking about strengthening the exercise of Article 1 of the Constitution, that of sovereign power of the people deciding on their leaders,
I want to ask
then
a
we
question.
must encourage high voter turnout.
Thank you. I want to ask this question to all of you, because now, based on what Mr. Speaker said, that some of these things were intentional, including the registration of voters. It was intentional by some quarters. But we are in 2025, February, and we are getting into March. We've not seen any active revamping of the polls body. We've not seen, there has been a lot of mark timing in as far as the formation of IBC is concerned. Emmanuel, do you think there was a deliberate move to delay this until 2025? Because now we are closing slowly to 2025.
Yeah, I can say this is a planned game whereby many people, as my brother said, they won't get new registrations of votes because we're delaying the IBC in place right now. Now, we don't have time. For example, we have people who don't have now, they're not registered as voters as we speak now. Now, yet the IBC is not open. Registration is not taking place. Now, when will this process start? Now, when we are delaying, this one is a game whereby we're just retaining the vote that we had last election, whereby I think it's a game my government is playing.
It's a game?
It's a game.
Do you think it's the same game?
It's very consistent. Remember the NADCO where Raila Odinga and the President William Ruto agreed to put a team in place at Bomas and agreed on what should be done. Why has it taken too long to establish IEBC? Why is it coming the last minute? It's being rushed. Two, as Mwalimu has indicated, the Honorable Secretary General, and forever will be, he has indicated that Article 1 of the Constitution provides that the sovereignty belongs to the people and shall be exercised directly or through democratically elected representatives. Firstly, for them to participate in an election so that then they can elect the leaders, the government has a responsibility to facilitate, both parliament and national executive, to facilitate the citizens to have the instruments of power to participate in electing them or voicing. So unless you are a registered citizen, unless you go to streets and demonstrate, then you are not recognized, point number one. Point number two, you cannot participate in that election. However much you will ask for voters to turn out to the polling stations. It means that there are quite a chunk of number of them that were not given an opportunity to be eligible voters because you cannot be registered as a voter. Why? Because what has suddenly changed that we have to charge a levy on registration of citizens for them to get and access a right to participate in the democratic process. And not a democratic. An identification card is an enabler including economic activities. Yes, government is charging this. And remember during Mzee Kibaki's time, education was free. How do you give a children free education and when they finish their Form 4, you charge them to be mature adults? It doesn't make sense. These are strategic, very well orchestrated and planned to lock out the young people from participating and expressing themselves other than Twitter. It's simple as that.
It's all of a sudden there's an upsurge of now revamping the IBC. The IBC debate has now started in earnest. It began just the beginning of mid-January. The story and the narrative to revamp IBC kickstarted, and now we saw the poll body, the commissioners and the deputy CEO and some of the officials facing, Parliament. But then now, still with you, Speaker, when you talk about timing, what do you read in this?
We will not have enough time. Let me ask, you mean this is the first time the deputy CEO was recruited? No, he has been in office for some time. Two, the commissioners, the panel is in place. It's got to take some time for them to put a new IEBC in place. And remember, you have to induct them to understand the electoral process. They will require, again, some time to do so. Whether you call it the registration of voters, education, voter education campaign, whether printed, digital material, that has to be done by IEBC itself. Otherwise, because it's too much that is going to be done, you leave it in the hands of politicians and the political leaders to go to podium and advise citizens on how to vote for them. That means that the responsibility of IEBC on voter education and voter information has been taken over by politicians. So you will hear a presidential candidate trying to advise voters on how to vote, go and register and vote. What happens to our community where there is no political leader or presidential candidate? They are denied an opportunity to be informed and educated about voter processing merely because their community, they don't have a presidential candidate who's appearing on a TV or is addressing them any other time. And therefore, the time is too short, and I'm saying that we must get to do things differently so that then the 61 billion IBC requesting is applied in a democratic process to ensure that immediately after election and the 5 years following, then we have a credible government. It doesn't matter how you win, but we need to believe, every Kenyan ought to believe and accept that we have a president, we have a governor, we have a MC, and so forth and so on, and others should admit and concede defeat. Supreme Court was not established for determination on who is president, who is a governor. That was not the case in America and in advanced democracies. Why must we be so keen on who becomes the next Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya? Merely because that elections are going to be contested. Why can't we do away with it? Is it that we are not Christian or Muslim or religious enough? The answer is no. Why is it that we do not have contested NEC examination council as such? You point out a few issues that are personal responsibility or individual school responsibility. The problem should be constituency X and issues, but not across the board. And therefore, I would say even NEC is doing far much better where you are, Mwalimu, than how IBC has been performing, and it has to improve. If then Kenyans have to accept policies of the incoming government, hold the government for the economy of this country to move forward.
You've made Sossion happy for a minute.
Really? I'm listening to his line of argument.
Right.
And the
I'm talking
concerns
about
of the
timing,
speaker.
yes, as you work on that, the timing.
That I think legitimately everybody is concerned that when the IBC commissioners come in, do they really have enough time to do most of these things? But I dare say there is enough time to do everything. The fact that commissioners are absent does not mean that the secretariat is not working. In fact, this report was tabled before the JLAC committee in the National Assembly by the Deputy CEO. That means some work is in the works. And therefore, IEBC, because we are not dealing with new things, IEBC has adequate time to work round the clock to ensure that Kenyans have confidence in 2027 election. That's the most important thing. And I would like to say the architecture of IEBC in terms of presence is in almost every constituency across the county. And they can do their work. They have secretariat, they have personnel, they have programs. They're not learning new ways of civic education to people. They can conduct their programs in every polling station. They have already gazetted polling station, unless they want to expand. So really, we are good to go. We have an infrastructure and an architecture that has been used over time, and not in a constituency where there is a political leader, but even as far as polling stations. And we saw the mobility even of the registration of voters in and around the areas around the polling stations. It's possible to be done. So the thing is, and we cannot say it is government. Let us know, let us have facts about the delay in constitution of IEBC. It was not caused by government. Remember, the constitution of appointment panel was contested in court, and I think by the Kalonzo Musyoka side, and there were orders injuncting it, which was set aside the other day. And the moment they were set aside, the panel was constituted and it is working. And we are a country that follows the rule of law. We comply with court orders. So it was not government action. It was an action of the court via an applicant of another party. And you see, when any citizen can make an application in court, it is not a crime.
Allow me to ask you for a favor.
But now that IEBC is being constituted,
in that newspaper, Mwalimu, there is a breakdown, a clear breakdown.
Yes.
Perhaps just take us through one by one, if you can.
Yes, it would be good, because these are investment areas. One is recruitment and transfer, transfer and team building.
Go ahead.
Recruitment, transfer, team building. This is human resource. Maintenance of vehicles. This is for operations and movement. Purchase of motor vehicles. This is addition of more vehicles to allow mobility of the staff. Media campaign. And this one is taking about 1 billion shillings. That means there's a lot of communication to be done.
Yes.
National Electoral Conference. That means there will be a national electoral conference. You must get the stakeholders on board and share with them and have their input. We are a country that respects Article 10 of the Constitution. And then legal petitions, legal reforms, elections, disputes resolution, data protection, corruption prevention, protection,
and so much more.
And risk registration, boundaries, GPS, research and PEE, disposal and tendering process, CVR/VV, election materials, ballot papers, training, meals, tallying centers, nominations, transport, wages,
and the list continues.
KM's replacement, upgrade and maintenance of system.
Continues.
And then lastly, the most important thing, simulation. You know, simulation will be testing
now this brings,
how the whole system works.
So this brings me to the question of timing. You've listed almost more than 10, 15, almost 15.
As outlined.
Exactly. Do we have enough time? That is the question, because now it's going to be the commission itself and the country.
The Constitution of
is
Kenya
going to be working as if you're under some
Constitution of Kenya,
pressure.
The Constitution of Kenya created independent commissions. Chapter 15. Independent because nobody can control the operations outside itself. Not even the executive, not government. It is only answerable to Parliament. And if you look at it, they were reporting to Parliament. And even in terms of budgetary provisions, they've recommended 61 billion for 2027. And Treasury has proposed 55 billion. So the disparity between the proposal of IBC and Treasury is about 5 billion. And they've outlined the investment areas and programs. This is an independent commission. They are free to work. And Kenya is a country that is very rich with highly qualified personnel. And I have all the confidence, considering the electoral ecosystem that we have had in the past, the disputes, the lessons to learn, the auditing, the facts that come out from, the data that comes out from auditing every election is going to inform the next team to work thoroughly. I agree with the Speaker. We must ensure that IEBC is able to do what it must do. It must burn the midnight oil and ensure that Kenyans have confidence, one, in 2027 elections. Two, as many Kenyans as possible are registered to vote. Three, conduct extensive civic education of Kenyans, so that we have credible, free, and fair and verifiable elections of 2027.
Well said. Emmanuel,
so
how do you
plan and execute well?
I agree. Emmanuel, how different will the next election will be?
I can say maybe turnout, because most of people have lacked trust in government, in IBC. So it depends if the new, maybe if we can have a new candidate. Yeah, because the Gens, when you listen to Gens, see what they are saying, they want their own, because they are tired of this same regime, people that have been in politics for a long time. So it depends whom they will choose and whom they will feel they might be comfortable with. Although 2027, on my opinions, I can say turnout will be much lower because many people, they don't trust. For example, the current government that we are having now, it had a good manifesto whereby many youth, mostly many, because those manifestos are touching Mama Bogas and many young people in the country. They had seen their hopes their problems are going to be solved with this government. But what has happened? Nothing. It is worse because many youth are jobless. Many youth, right now, they can't access to IDs because they have to pay some levy on that. Now, in my opinion, I can say next election turnout will be much lower than usual.
You take a lot of time traversing the country, Speaker.
Yes.
And you interact with the like-minded individuals and caucuses and all that, you know, fora here and there. How different will this be? In 1 minute, if you can.
It will be different in the sense that many Kenyans who voted for the current regime will have no reason to turn out to the polling station and vote for it again because they are disappointed, and not just youth. Mama Boga is the most disappointed because this was supposed to be a bottom-up model with a perspective of strengthening the bottom and the people who are needy, which has not happened. And therefore, the few who will turn out to the polling station, they will be on a protest vote. And that's what I can say, including the young people who will obtain IDs and eventually be registered as voters. Then they will be on the ballot box just to vote out the current administration because they have nothing to celebrate under the current regime. And therefore, that gives an advantage to whoever is going to be alternative presidential candidate against the current administration as it is, because it has disappointed its voters against the background of the promises.
But that can change. In Kenya, everything is possible. You know that.
That Kenya is gone.
No.
That Kenya is gone.
No.
I will tell you that Kenya is gone. Kenyans, Mwalimu has taught for a long time, and quite a number of our mamas and our mama bogas are grade 8 and above We don't have illiterate people. We have Form 4 leavers, they are here. We have university graduates, there are so many in these streets. And they inform their mothers, they inform us, they teach us, they are leading this country, they shape the opinion. They are liking and they are following this conversation. Good morning, Kenya. More of them are on Twitter, on TikTok. They are current affairs. They read this newspaper at 4 a.m. in the morning, the soft version of it. And they will be able to inform many other people. So things have changed. That's what I've noticed.
Let's take a break. I want to refill Sossion's cup. I think that cup is empty, right?
Sure.
There's no tea. We'll take a break. Let's be back.
Ima na wendo mwingi tugikuthokia Embu County, the land of opportunities. Kambunene ya Ngemi FM mushi worata.
Twegagure na kamwetha kama viometo. Muroro kiande tukunye maire na murori tuthie thokore besa mevukore cha
manje makiyara uranje mure cietu cia thitima na ronje ruwathagana nyamu cia kithaka igitugemeria bururi wetu wa mbere Embu County. Ngemi FM tikomono tukianirira na mugambo munene. Eno ni
Ngemi FM
musie wa urata.
Eno ni nyumba nene
musie wa urata.
Ngemi FM 103.5.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Wiki hii kwenye mkulima tumejikita mizizi hapa Mathare, ambapo tumejitosa katika kilimo cha mboga na pia ufugaji wa mbuzi wa maziwa.
After high school unapata hakuna opportunities hapa nje. Mume-enroll kwa colleges, mkitoka bado mnaangaliana hapa nje. So nakumbuka hiyo wakati tukiwa bado si wachanga, rais yule alikuwa wakati huo na alikuwa anahimiza kwamba vijana waweze create opportunities au wenyewe nao serikali itakuja kusupport. So hizo ndio ideas zenye tulika chini tukaona wacha tukue na kitu yetu yenye itatupeleka to the next level badala kutegemea saa yote tukililia serikali.
Usikose kujumuika nasi siku ya Jumamosi saa 10:30 upate uhondo kamili.
Welcome back. So let's come back, and I wanted to finalize this issue of IBC and what you should expect. The same question I asked the two gentlemen, Sossion, how different do you think the next election would be?
Well, the next election will be exciting. I think there will be a more revamped IBC that will do its work, will be independent, and the effect of the broad-based government and shifting alliances will set the agenda for 2027. But I think what is key now, so that we don't carry the minds of Kenyans to 2027. That's a mistake we always make. We mobilize Kenyans around wrong issues at the wrong time. Even the Bible says there's a time for everything. So I think this is a time to transform Kenya for the good of Kenya. The people of Makueni need support within the agricultural sector. The hardworking farmers need to be supported through subsidized fertilizers, subsidized seeds, and organized market and processing systems that will earn them a living. The bottom-up agenda has not been lost by Kenya Kwanza administration. And the bottom-up agenda is no longer the property of, say, the party. It is now a national agenda. What do we do with the people at the bottom, the youth who are unemployed? Those are questions that we must be able to work on it ahead of 2027, so that then the major pillars of development can be delivered, so that as Kenyans vote in 2027, right, they are voting when the state of the nation is in a better state, because in social democratic setup, social rights and equality are key things that must be delivered. So then by 2027, Kenyans should be accessing quality health care, that one without a doubt. Education should be doing better, agriculture should be doing better. So that then as the speaker and their team go around campaigning, they will only be addressing a few gaps and outlining new things for 2027. And I am sure what is key in 2027 is that Kenyans will be evaluating the performance of the current elected leaders and will be considering those new leaders who want to lead, and they'll be taking a decision at the ballot. That is key, because I know Makueni, your governor and the team will also be facing an evaluation. It is an evaluation test. Everybody is being evaluated. And I would like to urge Kenyans to be more proactive, more pragmatic, brave, and bold in assessing performance of all the leaders. You cannot take the entire debate of the country and focus on debating what the president is doing. You are forgetting that you have an MCA at your level who promised you what to do and how to do. Check their performance. You have a member of parliament. And by the way, MPs can also be recalled according to the constitution. Yeah. Check what they are doing. You have the women reps. There are programs and there are funds given to them. We have senators. Their job is to oversight. How are they oversighting? You have governors. Some have been impeached, and so forth and so forth. And you also have the presidents. So then people must look at all these seats and evaluate at that level. Voting in any democratic process where we expect economic transformation is a matter of life and death. And I'm happy as we head towards 2027. It is the last election before 2030. And if you look at Vision 2030, the pillars of Mwai Kibaki, one, the main political pillar was that gradually by 2030, we should be able to transform our politics to issue-based politics. That when we are here, we are talking about healthcare. We are not talking about tribes, villages, the mountains, valleys, and lakes, the deserts, and whatnot. We should be talking about issues. So I think the election of 2027, Kenyan voters will be voting on the basis of issues, on the basis of services, on the basis of performance of the leaders, incumbent leaders.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to sit on that round table, gentlemen, I'll give you 1 minute each on this. What would you advise the next incoming commission? Emmanuel?
It is now time to also to gain trust, to tell Kenyans, we are new commission in the office. We are going to try to put things on place. Also to listen what Kenyans, the opinion of Kenyans, because most of our leaders, they end up making decisions without collecting decision from other people. They end up making their own decisions. But I hope IBC should listen. They should highlight the areas that Kenyans feel they are not comfortable, they have problem, and then try to solve those problems, so that Kenyans, they can say now this is the new regime we can trust, but I hope it will be time for change, and they will do a good job.
Okay.
Because they have seen what has happened to the country, they will try to perform best on their point.
Speaker.
Yes.
Imagine sitting in that room, the new commission is in place, and what should you advise them?
Firstly, that election is not an event. Elections is the basis upon which a country is governed in the next 5 or 10 years, depending on election cycle. And that, as scholars have defined, politics is authoritative allocation of state resources and values. So the key to governance of this country, from the lowest to the highest office of representation, both legislative and executive, is how leaders are elected in office for 5 years and govern the people to advance political, social, and economic well-being. And then what the commission then should have in mind is that they have been called upon by the citizens of Kenya, processed through parliament. They will take an oath after an appointment by the president to process an election, and it is out of that election that the welfare, political, social, and economic of the people will be governed. And therefore it's not a question of an outcome of a process. It is the confidence in the process.
What is exactly talked about,
yes,
the confidence?
and therefore we are battling a challenge where for the last few terms, 3 of them, sections of society and this country have expressed displeasure on the outcome of the results. And therefore that is one of the challenges that the incoming IEBC must work on, knowing that it's going to face a rebellion against the existence and importance of IEBC, because for a period of 3 terms, the outcomes in terms of all of us going to Supreme Court, people demonstrating, agreeing, disagreeing, including when the president was in Pentagon, that time in the year 2007, is the same result against the President Kibaki's election and so forth. And therefore that confidence is the first investment that has to do. It's one thing to be a father. It's a different thing to be a dad. A father is just a biological, but to be a dad, there are responsibilities that you must attract and develop trust in your family, so that then you come up as a titular head of that family and trusted. That's a big challenge that IBC has to do. Otherwise, we would have sourced for professionals or hired government to government from America, from other countries, from South Africa. And we can still have a credible elections if they have better system than us. But the point is that because this Kenya is a sovereign state, we cannot do so. They need to deal with trust issues.
What about the trust amongst the commissioners themselves? We still have the Cherera Fall, remember? The crack and the walkouts and all that. What would you comment about that?
The previous commission allowed itself to serve individuals, not to serve Kenyans. And the previous commission had factions, is in black and white. We cannot bury our head in the sand. And that's why I'm saying that they forgot to understand their mandate. It is determining an election on how this country is going to be governed in the next 5 years, irrespective of the individual, but the trust that comes with it, so that whoever loses and whoever wins, all of them have accepted and moving on. So it's not just an event. Thank you.
You know when a teacher raises up his hand, yes.
That is the most important statement he has made. Yes, that when commissioners are partisan and they are serving interest of others outside the commission, it ceases to be an effective commission. And so we learned lessons from Cherera Fall and what we saw at Bomas. That was an ISO.
And that is exactly the same question. If you are to sit in that commission, fully formed.
Because you cannot sit as a commissioner and serve partisan interest. You serve the interest of the commission, and you execute the mandate of the commission as outlined, because you are given that power by the people of Kenya.
Right.
You are not given that power and privilege by political parties. So neutrality, the principle of neutrality, non-partisan interest, is what should guide. And I think the constitution, the composition of that IBC was a sorry affair, because we've never seen victor. Elections are counted at the polling station. And if if the speaker here gets 8 votes and I get 2 votes, you cannot subject that to further review. How would you review what has been counted and what is clear? Now, I think what we saw was near plunging the country to anarchy and chaos. And that is why the next crop of IEBC commissioners, that of the chain commissioners, they must be strong and competent Kenyans who must be able to execute the mandate of IEBC effectively and clearly, to the point that Kenyans believe. You know, as a teacher, you'll always know a good principal. When you walk into a school, you can see how the principal is regimenting teachers, is regimenting students, and you can see indicators in terms of results. You can also know a system that is not working, whether the problem is the principal or whoever. So I think the type of person, the caliber of the chair, the person of the chair, and commissioners matters most. We expect competent people, not the likes of Cherera. People who will be able to account to Kenyans. At the end of the exercise, when results are announced, all Kenyans will say, yes, we accept the results. They'll keep quiet and we go back to business in peace. Because you see, Kenyans are very peaceful people. Kenyans are good people. When you do things right, they will accept and move on.
All right.
Although, as in some of extra animal instincts within the political leaders will try and create stories and keep Kenyans busy. And this is where I say, once IBC has done a good job, and we agree, they've done a good job, the losers should concede results and congratulate the winners. The winners should close ranks with the losers and move on and run the country. You see, like now, we're having a broad-based government. Assuming there was that acceptance and agreement in the beginning, and then now move to the next thing. Can we have a broad-based government? Some of the things we're having are afterthoughts, which could have been done even at that time.
I want us
and you see, we lose out by not doing things at the right time and the right man.
Let's get to the next topic, because I have very few minutes remaining. Now, talk of the broad-based government. We've seen a lot of movements in the past few days, a lot of movements between Honorable Raila Odinga and the president. That handshake was something in Mombasa. Raila came all the way from Dubai to Mombasa, then from there to Kisumu, and yesterday he had a series of meetings in Kisumu. And the president in his speech said that, yes, I accept the election period is behind us, and yes, I have accepted that we should form a government that unites all Kenyans. And here we are, President Ruto to give Raila more CS positions, PSS slots as new alliance plotted.
You see, you in the media, you are speculating exactly what is going to happen. But 2 things, 2 events.
Quickly.
3. The president, during his swearing in, he said, I'll work with all leaders and all Kenyans.
Is that speculation?
That is a good message.
Is that speculation from the media?
That is a fact that worked.
All right.
No, these ones of Raila will be given this and that, those are speculations. What has not happened, those are speculations. But one, that is a statement of the president. 2, at KICC, when with Raila Odinga, Kalonzo, and the rest of the leaders, the president himself, in their presence, pronounced and said, we are going to form a broad-based government. That is the first time he said, yes, he's going to invite all Kenyans. And the third, in Mombasa, he has not talked about broad-based. He has talked about a government of national unity. I think if what you are reporting is right. There is nothing wrong in political evolutions and system, and where you have to bargain and strike compromises and balances so that there is equity and there's no exclusion. The problem we have in this country is deliberate exclusion of people. And you know, a government is like heaven. There is a verse in the Bible which says, there is room enough for all of you in my Father's house. So a government is like my Father's house. It is possible to accommodate everyone. And so when people create situations where they can negotiate and we find ways of working like we've seen in the cabinet. There are already 5 cabinet members from...
What do you think?
There are already 5 cabinet members from ODM holding critical positions and they are working.
Thank you.
And you can see, you can feel what they are doing. So if the next frontier will be a broader arrangement and even signing proper agreements between the parties or forming of a coalition, rearranging government for the good of Kenyans. Raila Odinga is consulting his team. We don't know. I'm not privy to the details of their engagements, but I believe
let me get
meeting in Mombasa, Victor, allow me, meeting in Mombasa was an important reunion
we still have
after
some time.
Addis.
We still have some time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me get from Emmanuel. What do you make of this? Although whatever is being speculated, Sossion said that all of this is now speculation. Well, there is books, there is fire. You know, Emmanuel, what do you say?
On my point, on my opinion, if I could have been, I can advise Raila, I can tell him not to join, because this one has affected him before when he joined Uhuru last election. We saw the result of it. And then I don't agree when people say uniting country is by offering Raila's or handshake or give him some positions. I don't agree with that. I think, on my opinion, to unite Kenyans is to make sure youth they have jobs, youth they get adequate education, getting resources to start their own business. That's how all Kenyans will feel comfortable, united in your government. But giving few people peers, I don't know, positions, that also makes, or they don't, I don't see the point to say that we are uniting Kenya by giving some, let's say I'm giving Kalonzo Musyoka's some positions. That also makes now you are uniting all the country. Just work to what you promised Kenyans, listen to what young people are saying, listen to the temperature and the problem that Kenyans are facing. Like right now, we have a problem with SHA. She's not working. Can we follow up? What can we do so that all our people, they can get resources that are required? That's how we unite a country, not giving one or two people. If I could have been Raila Odinga, I can't join because he has done it before. And he has seen what the outcome it has been like last election. If he could have not joined Ruto, Uhuru, maybe something will have, that's my text.
Okay, speculation or not, but what if it happens? To whose advantage? Speaker.
Firstly, before I get to that, do we have a broad-based government? Nothing. I was properly taught political science and introduction to politics by Adam Zolo, a professor who is now a panel in IBC.
Yeah.
And a government is not owned by two individuals. A government constitutes of the judiciary, legislature, and executive. And it must be structured. The essence of a political party is to gain power. Under the laws and the constitution of Kenya, the only way Raila Odinga, having been a presidential candidate of Azimio, and attained numbers not far, with a difference of 200,000, 300,000 and whatever, as announced by IBC that time, to President Ruto, it means then that there are quite a number of citizens who voted pro-Raila and believed in him. It is not up to him to make a decision on his own to declare a broad-based government, because there is representation from the MCA to governor, women rep and parliament. And therefore, what is happening now, there is nothing in our constitution referred to as a broad-based government. That is a clandestine. It's personal arrangement on executive and sharing opportunities and fruits within the executive arm of the government. If indeed there was to be a broad-based government, what would be the arrangement under the constitution? Is that ODM or other political parties who find it necessary, including the leader of Kenya Kwanza Coalition, reaching out to political parties and leaders of other political parties, and those political parties will have caucuses on themselves and review their manifesto and see how to align and integrate their manifesto with the current administration with a view of pulling the over 4-5 million voters who voted for them. That has not happened. Now, if you look at the arrangement in the parliament, is parliament an arm of the government? Yes. Is it part of the broad-based? No. Who is the leader of the minority party? The leader of the minority party is Junet Mohammed.
Yes.
So is he in the government? No. Under the constitution, is leading the opposition, is there to ensure that and ensure the executive has implemented the resolution, that the decision and their manifesto. Is he doing that? No. There's no way objectively he will question that, because his party leader has joined the executive. And remember, the party leader Raila Odinga had earlier on indicated that both Joho and other two, including Oparanya, had joined the government out of their own volition, and that was not party position.
Yeah.
That has changed in less than about 2 to 3 months. And he's confidently says that we are considering working. And members of that political parties are indicating that we in ODM are in broad-based government. What is the Secretary General of ODM indicating? He has said, I will not work with the current administration much as I'm a Secretary General. Is there a broad-based government that the Secretary General for ODM doesn't know? The answer is no. When they will want to have a broad-based government, the President will reach out to political parties. ODM must conduct a delegate conference, is National Executive Committee, delegates ratification, and through the political parties registration and the requisite law, they will sign a post-election coalition. So that then in this post-coalition agreement, then the cabinet secretary in respect to ODM or Azimio or another political party will be in this ratio, with a view of achieving the interest and aspirations as proclaimed by Azimio, that is Raila, or ODM, and resolving issues and problems affecting citizens, not rewarding deputy party leaders of a political party. So we do not have a broad-based government. The only way we can have it, and there is no such word in the constitution, is after it has been ratified and constitutionalized. Otherwise, what we have is an arrangement between two people sharing position and bread in executive arm of the government.
I think,
okay.
Allow me to rebut while it's still fresh.
Go ahead.
You know, strike while it's hot. Don't apply theories of a political science class in a serious practical situation where things are moving so fast as it is now, Mr. Speaker, sir. The reality is coalitions is permissible in any democracy, any jurisdiction all over the world. And post-election negotiations are a normal thing. It's a common practice all over the world that you see ANC has not attained the majority that it deserves to form government. So it must invite another party. So pre-election and post-election is a reality. Now, when the president engaged the party leaders, Wiper was there and he walked away, that is his choice. And I'm sure you are speaking for Wiper. Wiper have not come out to engage in the broad-based arrangement.
Are you speaking for, Mr. Speaker, are you speaking for
Yeah,
Wiper?
but ODM, listen, no, allow me.
I'll get that clear. Mr. Speaker, are you speaking for Wiper?
Now, the assumption, and it is important that I clear, I came here on invitation and I'm giving my perspective. And for purposes of clarity, what was happening at KICC was not inviting political leaders to discuss broad-based government. They were there to receive and hand over the NADCO report. Records are very clear. You can check with your archives. Simple as that.
Now, and one of the byproducts is the broad-based arrangement, which was urgent and which has been implemented and which ODM has fully participated. And by the way, when you look at ODM, how many members of parliament do they have? 85. It's a very serious political party. UDA, before we look at ANC, Ford, Kenya, and the others, and PA. UDA, how many members of parliament do they have? 145 plus 85. That is almost 2/3 of the House. Those are the most serious populist political parties. And so when they engage in an arrangement of coming together, it's a volition. It's a democratic right. You choose. Nobody is being forced. And if it is working, then it is right. We can see the indicators. In the backyards of ODM, the leaders are very passionate about full implementation of the broad-based arrangement. And Raila Odinga has said he is consulting across Kenya on this agenda of broad-based. And though it may be too late in the day, if the Wiper can be part of it, nobody is going to be excluded. So it's a matter of choice. I
would like to treat that as
and I'm telling you, Victor,
Yes.
Victor, when it comes to the principle and values of the country, particularly national unity. The mechanics and the actions, the framework that you put in place in the political ecosystem matters most. If it is about broad-based, with the president has even made it very clear, government of unity. When you talk of government of unity, it's a very serious thing.
Thank you.
And it means you bring people together, you take them away from areas of conflicts, and you bring them to a zone of cooperation.
Thank you.
And where there is cooperation, there is harmony, and you can achieve faster development. And you cannot say it is an action of two people. UDA has 145 MPs. Yeah. ODM has 85 MPs. Those are voices of the people.
Thank you.
And I think I can teach you some bit of practical lessons.
Do we have
political
do we have
science.
or we don't have broad-based government? Do we have?
There is a broad-based government.
Okay.
It is known all over the world.
Okay.
And the broad-based government will be growing and it will become more effective. We saw the broad-based government at the international scene in Addis Ababa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There is a broad-based government that can graduate into government of national unity, so that even what you are speculating in the newspapers about appointments and whatnot will be a reality.
No, we are going to go. Emmanuel, 1 minute, kindly.
Yes. Yeah, I can say, okay, this thing is not new in our country. It happened last election. We had Nusumkate, whereby, not Nusumkate, handshake between Raila Odinga Omolo with the former president. And the former president was talking about unity of the country. But the current president used to say, this is not uniting countries. What has just changed? Right now, we are saying we are bringing Kenyans together by the same handshake. What was happened previous election, the previous regime? What has changed? I don't understand there. And my opinion is that it's not must we bring few or one or two people to the table and say we are uniting country.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, tumalize. What's your opinion? What is your final take on this?
The broad-based government is a statement by the President, His Excellency himself. It's not provided for in the Constitution. The laws of Kenya are very clear. If you want to have a government engaging another political parties on how to do it, there is no shortcut to it. The ODM or any other political party should have a meeting and make a clear decision that we have formed a post-election coalition with UDA and Kenya Kwanza and be part of the government, and then move with the ideologies of ODM, merge them with those of Kenya Kwanza, and then tell Kenyans. It's not a private, a person's affair. If that will happen, then what we are seeing now, I can say, is a clandestine personal arrangement.
All right, thank you so much. HonWilson Sossion, former NAT Secretary General and former nominated Member of Parliament. I also have Douglas Milu, Speaker, County Assembly of Kitui. Thank you so much for joining us. And Emmanuel Shikuku, Makweni, right, I beg your pardon. And of course, Makweni. Did I say Kitui? Makweni. Emmanuel Shikuku, political analyst, thank you. I've received an apology from Honorable Ayub Savula. He said that he got an emergency and he had to rush somewhere in the city. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Victor. Have a good day. Bye-bye.